Hello, everybody. I am Mikey. I am running the Dramarama on the ad. So, welcome to all of you. If you missed yesterday morning's session, me and Bianca was going over lots of different techniques and a project that we've got called Through the Window. So, for those who don't know, Through the Window is an activity where we're getting loads of you from home to have a look either outside of your window or inside of your window. So the purpose of this is just so you can absorb everything that's going on. So it's basically a little bit of people watching, gathering some information, and also looking at your surroundings as well and seeing how we can create a story around that. So yesterday I got Bianca to have a look outside of her window and she told me what she could see, and she said that she saw children playing in their gardens. I think she said there was four of them, of different ages, a lot of younger children, and there was a teenager. Also, the weather was quite bleak, as I remember. There was also, I think, a rose bush, but I'm going to confirm that anyway. But yeah, we literally got all the surroundings, we got the people, and then the next stage of that was creating a story. So what I got her to do is use a method called freeze frame or still image. So what that means is when you're telling the story, you kind of freeze like that, and you kind of freeze in the moment of a reaction of what's going on. So this basically helps people to tell the story. Alongside that as well, we will be doing a narration as well. So yesterday we got to the point we actually created a story. So I gave her a backstory with all the information that she had given me about aliens that have landed into this garden. Okay. And I got Bianca to do three different types of freeze frames along this way, just so we could see the reactions to each part of that narrative. So I'm just gonna have a look on here actually and see if I can share my screen. 1 second, this is quite new. Share screen, share. Only 1 second. That should share. Okay, so I believe it's shared. Okay, so this is basically what we was going through and through the window. So as you can see, my laptop's a bit slow. We'll be there in a minute. There we go. Okay, so the different things that we were looking for was when you're looking through the window and you're seeing maybe one, maybe two, maybe more people, have a look to see how, like, what kind of age bracket they're in. You know, you don't have to be right to the T and say, oh, they're 36, like me. Oops, I've given my age. But you could obviously mention that they're in their 30s, they're elderly, things like place of birth. So you might not necessarily maybe know this, but you could create this in your story. So maybe if he's wearing like a Hawaiian shirt, you could probably say it's from Hawaii, you know. Gender, male or female. You could even put the race if you want to. Ethnicity, not really important, but it's always something to add. Clothing style or specific. So what are these people wearing? You know, what people wear defines maybe this person and tells you a bit more about them than you probably know. Activity. So what were they currently doing? So Bianca said the children were playing on slides and jumping on the trampoline. So that's an activity. An interesting one that she said was the mood. So by looking at their expression, we could see Bianca could tell that they were shouting at the other kids, but the way they were expressing themselves, it was angry. So we could tell from that. Habits, gestures, or quirks. So, you know, are they scratching their nose? Are they playing with their hair? Are they coughing? All these little things can add to your story as well. And surroundings. So if we come down here, the weather. So she mentioned about the weather, buildings around, etc., etc. So all these things can contribute towards creating a story for you by looking through or in the window as well. Okay. So the scenario that I gave Bianca yesterday, because what I want everyone to do is create a 2-minute play. So I'm giving you all the tools for you to do this. So the one, like I said, was an alien has landed on Earth. Characters are first on scene. Okay, so the children were obviously the first on the scene. Just getting my yeah, we go. Yeah, so the children on scene. And what we did was what I'm going to do now is read through a kind of script, and I'm going to do some freeze frames to show you kind of what I mean. If you're at home and you want to join in with these freeze frames, let me know. Also, if you're watching, I want to know some themes as well. Sorry, themes. So I'm going to do some Lando next week, but we'll Lambda, so we'll sort that out. But I want to know some themes of what you see from this script. So when I see themes, it could be fear, it could be suspicion, it could be anger. So everything that I freeze frame, feel free to throw into the chat, and yeah, it will give me an idea of kind of the expressions that you're getting from me. So if we carry on from where we was, so there is a cool breeze in the air. As the children play in their gardens, a strange noise is heard from the sky. An object appears to land close to the children, and a door opens. A shadowy figure looks towards a pair of starlings, and the aliens transform into this bird figure. One of the children, Tom, looks in fear. First freeze frame. So if anybody is online and available, feel free to throw in what reaction you got from me and maybe what I was feeling. So the aliens just landed. Obviously Tom is quite fearful. Okay, so now one of the aliens approaches Tom slowly. His beady eyes start fixated on the earthly surroundings as the alien approaches. His wing reaches out to touch Tom's arm, curious as to what the species is. Then he says, "We come with no harm, but from afar, place from yours. Please show us around." Second freeze frame. So what are the words we can get from there? A few examples of that is helpfulness. Okay, I'm looking to help these aliens. Look at my facial expressions. Do I look scared at that point? I would probably say after that conversation with the aliens, probably not. Okay, so I'd probably be excited, maybe. Fascinated is another word. Okay, so get in the habit of jotting these words down because it can help you to build a story and to add on to it as well. Okay, so next, Tom proceeds to show the two human-sized alien starlings around the garden and explaining all the different types of nature and structures. The aliens nod in appreciation with each other. As they turn around, the aliens feel stones and other objects being thrown by the teenager over the fence. They swoop back into their ship in fear. Tom screams out to the aliens while looking at the menacing teenagers. Freeze frame 3. Now, I can't see my face in that, but the feelings I got from that was anger. So maybe anger. Now I've built this friendship with the alien. Now I have a kind of anger towards the teenagers. So that could be something that you can look at as well. But this is basically how you would create. This is a method that you could use for Through the Window for your 2 minutes plays. So I'm just going to go to my other slide. Well, have a look. So just a few things that can help you along the way. So we're going to go over this for the next few weeks anyway, but it's just something for you to think about. So while you're playing, it should be 2 minutes long. Okay. So think about how your characters personally fit into your play. So as you know, you can pick any scenario you want. If you want to use the alien one, that is fine. Okay, I don't think I've shared screen, so let's do that as well. May help. Here we go. Yeah. So yeah, how does your characters fit into your play? So for example, with the aliens, okay, how does Tom fit into that play? What can you build from that? What is his reactions? So you can kind of create a backstory for Tom, okay, just by looking at everything that you've observed by looking through your window. So if Bianca's looked out a window and see children playing, one of them may be a young man, we could call that Tom, okay? So what was Tom wearing? Let's just say, for sake, he was wearing, I don't know, a red coat, okay? He's wearing a red coat. Visualize this now. So we're going to use a bit of imagination. So Tom's wearing a red coat. He's maybe wearing a cap. He's wearing some white trainers, and they're quite muddy because he's been playing in the garden because of the weather. Obviously, the starlings were mentioned because I think Bianca saw some starlings on the fence. Okay, so we can connect all these points and make it into our story. Okay, so Tom's got a red coat. Maybe the aliens have a fear of red. Okay, we can use that into our story as well. You see how quick I've just used that to create a story. The starlings, so we kind of use that into the story as well. So the starlings are sitting on the fence. Okay, I came up with the concept of, you know, drama can be very surreal. So you can make it into anything you want to be, especially online. So the aliens could be like, we need to take on a form that is familiar to Earth. So they probably looked straight at the starlings and thought, okay, let's change ourselves into starlings. But there's a bit of comedy factor in it. So the starlings are actually of human size. So instead of giving the effect of reassurance, which is another theme that you can use, they've maybe created fear because they are so big. So that's something that you can use within your story. So the more exciting, the better. This is what I'm looking for. So when you're writing, be open, have no fear. Okay, it's always good to experiment and do what you need to do. Okay. So yeah, you can create it from that. And what else did I say? He's got muddy trainers. Okay. Maybe the aliens want to know, a bit about that, a bit about the environment. So, they're walking around, the trainers are getting a bit more muddy. You can put that into your story. So it doesn't have to be the lines of the characters. It can just be Tom is walking around the garden. As he does, he walks into the muddy fields, exploring with the aliens. So that's just something to add into your story as well, okay? So how will the beginning connect to the ending of your story? So, for example, so the aliens have landed, okay? We want to create we want to create the story. So when it gets to the ending, it makes sense. But also, sometimes it doesn't have to make sense. Sometimes you can leave the ending, what we call open or not open. So it can be closed, sorry. So you can tell the story and let the audience know maybe what the moral of the story is, what the reason why you wrote this play. Or you can write a story with an open ending so people could go away and think about it and use their own minds and think, well, maybe this has a hidden meaning. Maybe this means something more to other people and they can make their own judgment. So as long as you I feel as long as you create the beginning of your story and it's very strong, that is the main thing. And I'm always here to help. So always message in the chat if you've got any questions for that. Is there any pivotal moment that changes the dynamics of your play? So in drama, there always needs to be a conflict. Okay. So when I say conflict, it doesn't mean like a full-on riot or a fight. It basically just means something that's going to go against the grain, something that's going to go against something in your play. So, for example, in my aliens one, the aliens came down. The teenager was fearful and didn't like that and started throwing stones at the alien. Conflict. And then the aliens started retreating to their ship. Okay. And then Tom obviously got angry about that from my reaction. I can't remember what it was. And that created the conflict. Okay, so that was basically the dynamic moment of my play. Also, with the aliens landing, that can be another moment, all moments in your play as well. So, how do your characters speak within the play? So, the inspiration you can get from this is maybe from when you're watching this person outside of your window. So when I mentioned about the quirks and the different attributes they're doing, are they scratching their head? So if it was Tom and he was, I don't know, if you saw the kid outside coughing, maybe he's got a kind of rasped voice. Maybe you could use that. He doesn't necessarily have to have a cough, but you could think, oh, he sounds a bit. Okay, this is how he's going to sound. Okay, so you can start switching up your characters in that way to give them a bit of individuality as well. Okay, so let me just share that, I think. So yeah, that is basically what we went through with Through the Window within Dramarama. It would be good to get some comments from you guys just to let me know what your experience with drama is as well. Also, it'd be fascinating to get your ideas of what is drama. What does drama mean to you? What is the definition of drama? So, what I like to do sometimes is I like to Google. So, Googling is a good way to get some information. So, if I have a look on now, and I'm going to put in basically the definition of drama. Some people may just think, oh, it's just acting. But there is obviously more to it as well. So I'm going to draw up a few words that we can get from that. Oops, I've just put dram. Let's have a look. Drama meaning. So this is a good exercise because a lot of drama is about researching as well, because research really helps with finding information to structure your play as well. So let's have a look. So an example here is an exciting, emotional, or unexpected event or circumstance. Okay. Okay. So what can we get from that? So I've got emotional. Emotional is very strong for me. Okay. The reason for that is because a lot of emotions can be used within drama. Emotions kind of create your drama. So when we look into I'm going to keep referring to the aliens have landed. So a lot of emotions was telling the story. So when the aliens landed, and Tom's initial reaction was fear. Okay, that fear is going to drive you to the next point of your story. Okay, so how do the aliens react to that fear? Okay, so the aliens may have noticed that Tom was getting fearful. Okay, so the aliens, like I said, transformed themselves into stallions in what they thought was going to be helpful to Tom to ease him. Okay, so the aliens may have felt an emotion of guilt. Okay, so felt guilty that they startled Tom in that way. So that kind of moved us forward into the next step, where the aliens wanted to reassure Tom and say to him, "Look, we're okay. We want to let you know that we come in no harm." Okay, and that list moved me on to the next part where Tom's emotion then changed to, like I said, reassurance. And then where can we build from that? So now Tom is reassured that no harm's going to come to him. The aliens could be then, okay, then please show me around. So that led me on to the surroundings. Okay, so all these things that we've written down, it might sound a lot of information, but I'm not telling you how to do this. I'm giving you ideas of how you can go about it. Within Dramarama, nothing is wrong. Okay, so when you're writing your stories, feel free to express yourselves as well. If you want to write something about maybe a life experience, something that you've got that you've been through that's made you happy and made you sad, and you want to transform this into your play, feel free to do so. You can do that as well. Okay. So the play is like I said, it's going to be 2 minutes long, and that's not a lot of time. That is not a lot of time, but like I said, it's all about the planning. So let's do an exercise now. Let's look out your window and see what you can see. So I'm going to look out of my window this time, not Bianca, and I'm going to see what I can see. So outside of my window, I am looking out of my back garden. Okay. I can see my elderly neighbour. It's quite cold, so I'm surprised he's outside. But he's at his shed, and I can see him. Oh, I think he's doing a bit of gardening, but he hasn't got anything in his hand. He's just ruffling through there. Okay, so he's probably in his late. I think he's in his late 50s. I should know. I'll say hello to him every day. I'll say late 50s, early 60s. Okay. Um, I can see tall trees. Okay. I can see that what's he got on? So he's got a very thick grey coat on. Okay, very thick. It looks quite sinister actually. What else has he got? He's got quite big boots on as well. Um, there's a bit of a broken fence as well. Okay. Um, yeah, I think that's quite a lot of information. Also, the weather outside is quite sunny, but there's shades of that. So, I mean, what themes can you get from what I've just spoken? So, I kind of said the word sinister, okay, and that had a lot to do with the surroundings that was going on. So, he is a very nice neighbour, okay, but in my head, I was visualising a kind of story. So, the grey coat was quite dark, the shadows within the fences made it look quite creepy. So that's already given me a story that I can go by. So it could be a ghost story. It doesn't have to be about aliens. So it's always good to give somebody a name as well. So if anybody's in the chat, they can give them a name. If not, I'll give them a name in about 10 seconds. But yeah, so I could say this gentleman, he walks around his garden suspiciously, looking around, hoping that people do not notice. Okay, so that started it off. Okay, so you can even do a freeze frame for that. So how would he be walking around? How would he be creeping around? Would his shoulders be up like this? Would he be looking up? Would he be hiding his face? Would he be wearing a mask? What is he doing in this garden? What is he doing in that shed? Suspicion, another theme. Okay, so I just led on. So maybe there's something in the shed. Maybe there's something going on that we don't know about. So for purposes, I'm going to call him. I'll call him Leonard. Okay, I don't know why. I have no one that I know who called Leonard, apart from a friend. But anyway, it's not referred to you. So Leonard is peering through his shed, looking back cautiously to see if anybody has noticed. The sound of ruffling debris are being heard within the shed. He turns around and he hears a noise. What's that? Says Leonard. Cautiously, he walks over to the other side of the garden and peers over his fence. He sees a young boy staring. Can I help you? Hi, I just heard a noise and I was just wondering what all that noise was. Oh, it was nothing. It was nothing. What do you mind anyway? What are you doing around here? Get out of here. The little boy runs off in fear. Okay, so that's maybe a starting story that we can use towards this. Okay, so that's kind of giving you like a beginning opening, just so you can kind of figure out just from all the information that I've given you. Okay, so that's the beginning made. So how can we make a middle plot? Okay, so let's have a look at the elements again from what I noticed. Okay, so as you can probably notice, everything centers around the shed. Okay, so what can we think of what's in this shed? Do we want to let the audience know what's in the shed already? Do we want to tell them straight away? Or do we want to keep it a mystery? So these are the kind of things that we can think about when creating our story, okay? So let's think of an example. So Leonard walks back over to the shed and he peers in. It's going to sound really crazy now. Okay, so Leonard pulls, let's just say, okay, not a bag. Okay, so Leonard pulls out a suitcase. What inside the suitcase is unknown, but Leonard seems really pleased to be and really excited to open the suitcase. He walks back into the house and sets it on the table. There, he opens it up, and to his delight, he hears a sound. Thank you for setting me free. Okay, so that's the part of the middle bit. Okay, so that's kind of some theme. So that could be mystery. That could be what would you describe a voice coming out of a suitcase? Okay, what's going through your head? So for me, that's very strange. That's very what? Why would a voice be coming out of a suitcase? Okay, so you could think of your own obviously reaction to that in your story. I'm going to say, for instance, it's another world. Okay, so this could be a portal that only Leonard knows, where he's basically maybe talking to somebody, let's say in another universe, okay? And he's made a friend. So everybody who thinks that Leonard is this creepy gentleman walking around the garden, keeping himself to himself in this grey coat, maybe something to do with this suitcase is special and he could be trying to protect the world, okay? So there you go. That's something for you to think about. So so Leonard is open the suitcase and he hears his voice. The voice then says, "What could the voice say? What could the voice say? I would like to come and visit your world. Over in this world, it is not very safe for us. There is fire everywhere. Buildings are falling. People are running. What can we do? Can you help us, Leonard? Please, I'm begging you." So there's a bit of emotion in there, okay? So maybe Leonard's not such a bad guy. Okay, how is his reaction going to be to this? So Leonard could then say, "You may be a bit grumpy." Maybe that's what gives him that aura. So he could be like, "I haven't got time for this. You're always bothering me every day, like it's my responsibility." But it's not. Am I the only one in the world who can help you? Fine, I'll see what I can do. What is it that can help? Okay, so now we've got a story. Okay, so now we can think, what could help? What could help Leonard? What does that person need in that suitcase? Who is this person? All of these questions we can use to create our story. So I'm going to say, for example, maybe there's an object in Leonard's world that this person or creature needs from Leonard to help their world. Okay, so what could this object do? It could be something mystical. Okay, so this could be an adventure. This could be a journey. Okay, so maybe there's some difficulties for Leonard. Maybe there's a overall meaning, okay, for this story. So maybe the object that Leonard is looking for is something that's actually going to help Leonard personally, okay? So it's always good to have an underlying message. So sometimes we call this an allegory, okay? So it's an underlying meaning of the story, okay? So maybe the person in the suitcase says, "Leonard, there's something in your neighbour's house that I need you to acquire. It's something really dear to me. This person does not know that they have this object in their house, but I cannot access it. Only you are close enough to get this object. It is small, it's round, and it shines bright in blue colour, and is situated in his attic. Can you please retrieve this object?" Okay, so even now, you could even use a freeze frame, okay? So when you're writing your 2-minute play and you're sending a video in, you could be doing acting. So maybe Leonard's thinking about this. Maybe he was contemplating the idea. Maybe he's frustrated that he has to be the one to help them. So let's stick with that. So okay, right. Okay. Which neighbour is it? It is the one on your left. Oh, it had to be, didn't it? Mr. Jones next door, me and him do not get on. From the plant fair last year, he ruined my chances of winning by stepping on my flowers. Do you really want me to go into that house? This is the last thing I'd like to do. I do not want us to speak to him. Please, Can you just do this for us? You'll be saving millions. Fine. Okay. Okay, so now you're getting a bit of an idea about a story. Okay. I'm going to try and maybe help you some more techniques. So let's go into the next bit. Okay. So Leonard walks next door and knocks on the door. Okay, so Mr. Jones does not answer the door at first, but Leonard hears sound around the back. He walks around to the back gate and sees Mr. Jones putting up some fencing. Oi, Mr. Jones, what do you want? I need your help. You need my help. So when I needed your help a couple of days ago to put up this fence, you turned your back on me and now you want my help. Look, Mr. Jones, I haven't got time for this, okay? Time is at the essence. There is something in your house that I need to locate. Can you help me? In my house? Who do you think I am? You want to just walk into my house and traipse about and take objects? So what would this object look like then? It's small and it's round and it shines blue. Well, I've never seen it before, so I'm sorry. You're not going in my house. Okay, so maybe we could do a freeze frame for Mr. Jones. He seems quite angry. Maybe his chest is out. Maybe that is a sign of a barrier for not letting Leonard come into his space. Okay, so maybe he's making his body quite big. Okay, so where can we go from there? So, so Leonard walks back to his house, conjuring a plan. I need to get into that house. I need to find a way. What is it that I can do to get into the house? I know. Every evening, Mr. Jones goes to see his daughter. I can go into the house, knowing that he leaves his back fence open. I don't condone this anyway, by the way, everybody. Okay? But go into his back fence and go through to his patio and have a look for that item. Okay, so 6 o'clock arrives. Leonard is waiting patiently as he looks outside his window. He sees Mr. Jones getting into his car and drives off. Leonard then rushes out of his house and proceeds towards the back fence. He then opens the back door. Sigh of relief. Thank God that door is open. I thought he may have locked it, but I'm in luck. As he enters the house, he heads towards where the boys mentioned that the subject would be, towards the attic. He looks up cautiously into the darkness. As he enters, he sees the blue light in the corner of the room. Hesitantly, he sits back and tries to ponder what this object could be. Is it dangerous? Is it dangerous? Either way, Leonard makes his way forward. It's so bright. It's so beautiful. He picks up this item and holds it in his hand. Okay. Freeze frame. How does he feel? He's got this bright item in his hand. It's beautiful. It looks amazing. How can we make that? There's a freeze frame. Okay. So that could be used within your narration, like I've said before. Okay. So then, sorry, I keep mixing up the name. So Leonard walks out with this object and runs back into his house. He opens the suitcase, but the item is not there. But the person is not there, sorry. Hello? Are you there? I have it. I have the item you were looking for. What do I do now? After a couple of minutes, the voice again appears. Wow, you have achieved it. Thank you so much. You have saved us all. Please throw this item into the suitcase. Leonard then throws the ball blue into the suitcase. A bright light then shines into the suitcase. He hears loads of cheers, loads of voices. Celebration is beginning to surface from the suitcase. Within the light shines upon Leonard. Leonard feels the rays and feels that there is no worries in the world. All the anger that he has been holding within himself starts to let go. He realizes that everything that he had, the feud with Mr. Jones, was not relevant. He thought to himself, maybe I should have helped him build that fence. Maybe there are so much more important things in the world than worrying about a little grudge. So you can see from how I've created that story, how I've created a hidden meaning also, okay? So Leonard has had this argument or feud with Mr. Jones about Mr. Jones trampling on his flowers for the flower show, okay? Um, Within that time, Mr. Jones has obviously asked Leonard if he could help him with his fence, okay? Leonard has obviously said no, and the reason he obviously said no, as we know now, is because of what happened to his flowers and holding resentment against that. So that's another word theme that we can use again, resentment, okay? So the light from the suitcase, okay, and what the voices are hearing from that suitcase could be trying to tell the audience, like I said, that there's more to the world than little things that's bothering us in the world. So that's something that probably could be a point that we're using for this story. So I've used the suitcase and the voice to tell Leonard that they need help within this suitcase. He's been a bit disgruntled at the beginning and a bit grumpy, but deep down inside him, he knew that he had to help, okay, which he did, even if that meant sneaking into the house of his so-called enemy, okay? So can you see how the techniques that I've used with freeze framing can show different kind of reactions to different kind of situations? How the allegory, so when obviously again I'm going to say the allegory is a meaning of a hidden message. So the hidden message could be, like I said, thinking as worst things in the world. So what other hidden messages can you use? Maybe think of something that's going on in your life, okay? Maybe when you use phrases like, I don't know, the grass is greener on the other side, something always gets better. You can use these kind of things in your story to help you create it as well. So with that, with the freeze framing, okay, I don't know why I keep doing that action. That's just like the normal reaction to a freeze frame, okay. But yeah, that's basically how to create the stories, okay. So think of different ideas of what you want to do within through the window. Um, but you can look anywhere. So it doesn't have to, I mean, we're stuck in our houses at the minute, but maybe if you, what you could do, maybe you can go to the park as well. Maybe you could create your own window, okay? What can you see through that window? It's always good to have this perspective because you keep it quite limited. So you can kind of see, you can see a small part of something, okay? Oh, can't get myself in there now. There we go. So you can see my eye. There you go. So maybe you can create your own window and think, what can I see? What perspective do I get from that? Okay, so you can go to the park. You can look through your car window. So even if you're driving with your parents, you can look through their window. What can you see? What are you taking in? Write it down. Start creating a story. Okay. If you need any help from any stories as well, or any examples of what you want to create, I'm going to bring this up again as well. So let's have a look. There we go. My computer skills are rubbish, aren't they? Right. Have a look. Yeah, so if we go back here, okay, so here's the different examples of a story. So this might not be exactly what you see outside, but this could be an experience of what you've gone through. So maybe you're at school or maybe you're at work and you see the manager or the school teacher accusing somebody of stealing. that's a story for you. So maybe you can incorporate that into your world. We did use the alien and landed, so that's one that we've used already. A passenger has a fear of flying on a plane. So maybe you've been on holiday and maybe there's a moment in life where you remember somebody was holding on to the plane and looking around and sweating, and you asked them, "Oh, are you okay?" They said, "I've got a fear of flying." So maybe that's you've set your scene on the plane with the characters that you've seen out in your window. Maybe the weather conditions outside of your window is a factor of that story. So maybe it's really, really, really coming down with rain and it's really windy. Maybe this is why the passenger is very, very nervous about this flight. A character takes a bad driving test and is a really bad driver. Okay, so maybe I've seen the old man outside with the grey coat. You know, he looks really grumpy, my neighbour. He's not, he's really nice. But I got that feeling that he was grumpy today, okay? So maybe the driving instructor was a grumpy old man, okay? Maybe the character who's taking the test is not a great driver, and this grumpy old man is getting frustrated with this person driving. But then you can start creating your story along the way as well, okay? So, like I said, using your information of your surroundings to create an opening scene for your play. So that is kind of a good way to do that as well. Okay. So no more screen sharing. So yeah, brilliant. These are the kind of things that I want everyone to look at next for this week. Okay. So it's all about creating the story now. So it's all about, like I said, looking at all these elements, looking at people, thinking of an event, okay, and then putting the story together. If you can start adding some still images and freeze frames, again, within different reactions. So Tom is scared at the aliens, you know, Tom is showing the aliens around, you know, the passenger is scared on the flight. I don't know, the kid is turning the corner while the driving instructor screams out in despair. Add them in as well because it brings drama to life and it gives the audience a bit more of a sense of what's going on. Sometimes you don't even have to say what's going on and just do the free frame. So the aliens have landed. Tom sees these aliens. The aliens come over to Tom and explain we mean no harm. So there you go. So sometimes the actions can take over the wording as well. So you can think about using all these tools as well. And maybe this can help you along the way as well. Okay. I tried to think of any other techniques that you could use. So I spoke about narration as well. So when you're writing your play or your story, um, think about what your characters are going to say, but what's on the outside of the character's speech as well. So think about filling in. Think about we call it didascalia. Okay, so didascalia is something that is basically is the surrounding of the dialogue of characters. Okay, so when I say like the aliens have landed on Earth, the wind is blowing at a moderate rate. The children look up and notice the strange objects into the sky. So how can you? So how can you build up your story? Maybe you want to start off with this. Maybe you want to begin with an opening scene with that kind of context as well, so you can start building on your story. Okay. So that's something I want you to kind of think about as well. What can you add within the story? So it's not just about writing the script and what people are saying. It's about explaining everything else around that. So surroundings, how people feel. Like the phone rings, you know, Tom hears the phone ring and is hesitant to pick up the phone. All these emotions have given this script a bit of creation and a bit of emotion towards it, and a bit of feelings. You know, it can give it a bit of tension, you know, of what's to come. So then the audience can start making up their own minds of what they think is going to happen next, and they're either right or you can switch it up so they think, oh, I didn't realise that was going to happen, but now I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen next. So all these little tools as well can help along the way as well. There are so many different techniques, methods that we can use within acting as well. So I'm not going to bombard you with all of them this week, but next week I'm going to show you a few more. I want you all to obviously try and create this story. If you log in next week, what you can do is throw in some examples of stories that you might want to do. So it could be, like I said, the passion of flying, the fear of the plane. So throw it into the chat. Let's this doesn't have to be your story that you write, but it could be something that we could experiment with for next week. And then what I'm going to do is also give you some more methods that we can use around that as well to help you build your creativity. So yeah, I think that would actually really help everybody to understand the dynamics of drama and to help them, like I said, create something that should be really exciting. So think outside the box in drama. Don't be afraid to write down anything that's going on in your head, because it's better to be out there than in there. You know, write it down, have a look at it, think, could I add this to my story? Because you never know, it could come back and help you later on in your story and add to it. So that's a really useful tool that you can use as well. Okay. So yeah, look through your window in the next few weeks. Have a look to see what you can see. Um, but like Bianca said last week, maybe look inside your window as well. What's going on? You know, is your mum cooking some dinner? I don't know. Is your brother decorating the walls or something in there? How can you create stories from these instances? You know, already I can start thinking of something from when my mum's cooking. I don't know the whole story, but I can start doing the opening scene. So maybe if we look at that and say, I look in, so you can. I forgot to say actually, you can use this as yourself as well. So you don't even have to have the characters given the name. This person could be you as well. So you could be transformed into this character. So So it could be me looking through that window and my mum's cooking. I'd be like, as I look into the window, I smell the seasoning of the cooking that my mum is stirring within the pot. Ooh, that smells so good. Should I stay out and play or should I eat this food? Michael, get in the house now. The food is ready. Come in. Running into the house. Okay. So I don't know what I'm going to go. I don't know where I'm going to go from there. But like I said, your surroundings can help you to evolve that story. Okay. So I'm in the house and I'm ready to eat dinner. Okay. What did I see out? What did Bianca see out the window again? So the children are playing. Okay. So I've kind of used that. Okay. Um, how does the children look? One that's angry, one was shouting at another child. Okay, maybe there's an angry child within this one. Um, maybe there can be an underlying meaning with this story. So maybe somebody you know, which is really not nice at all, is somebody is being bullied, okay? And maybe you want to get across the point that bullying is not right and you want people to know about this. So maybe because I had to run in and eat dinner while the other kids are playing, maybe this angry kid is laughing with the other kids because I've had to run into dinner and I don't know, calling me a mummy's boy or this and that and saying, oh, he can't stay out late. Oh, he's safe. You know, little things like that, you know, to show how bullying can affect people. But then you could probably build it onto a story where you could say, oh, Michael overcome this by maybe he did an act where I don't know, maybe one of the children, when he went back out, hurt his leg. And maybe Michael was the only person who knew how to do first aid and he started helping the child with their leg. Okay? Then maybe this child was grateful, so in awe that I've helped him with his leg. And he went on to have an amazing football career because Michael saved him from potentially having further damage to his leg by telling him to hold it up or by strapping it and things like that. And the overall allegory meaning of that is maybe you shouldn't, you know, judge a book by its cover and bully people because you never know when they can help you. So yeah, it's little things like that that you can think about within your story that's going to help you along the way as well. So I'm just going to turn my light on because I didn't realise it was so dark in here. Okay, maybe I'm setting the scene for the old man with the grey coat on. I forgot. I've got to turn my light on. Hold on. There we go. That's a bit brighter. Okay. So um what I usually do as well, or what we usually do in drama, is we kind of have a warm up, which I haven't done today, but I'm going to do next week. But we also, and what I like to do in my sessions is have a cool down as well. So in the gym, you call it a cool down. Let's call it a walk down, okay? So if everybody's at home, I want you to get on your feet, okay? There we go, as you can see me, okay? So it's basically just doing a few stretches with your body, just to get your mind clear and to just basically loosen you up because it also loosens the mind as well. Okay, so let's start by, if you're at home, let's start swinging to the left, to the right, loosen up that back muscle as well. Okay, it seems like an excellent exercise that, but it's very important. Okay, there we go. And just have a look to see the space that you're in as well. Okay, so when we do move on to doing some acting as well, when we have the space, it's always important to have the spatial awareness of where you are. So if you're at home, can you step to the right? How much room do you have there? Okay, I can step to the right a bit, step to the left. Can I step to the right? Okay, so I've got a barrier here as well. So it's just about being aware of that as well. Looking up and down as well. How high is the ceiling? Can you reach up there as well? Okay. Especially online as well as we are now. When you're telling a story, can you go down? Can you go down to get out of view as well? Okay. So it's all about looking at that spatial awareness as well. Okay. Another exercise as well that I really liked. So if you're at home, I want you to rub your hands together like this. Keep rubbing it. You can start it feeling warm. Okay. And when you're ready, I want you to put your hands on your eyes and sigh out and go. Let's do that one more time. Now for me, that releases kind of a nice real energy from the mind, just so you can kind of think here. The keep kind of it kind of elevates me for better thinking. So maybe you want to try that technique as well at home. Okay. Um, Maybe just loosen up your legs as well, like this. Okay. So I'm back in as well. I don't know if you can see me here. So if you can see my leg, I want you to get on the ball of your foot and I want you to wiggle your leg, but I want you to feel it in your foot. So I want you to feel all of that into your leg, okay? All the way down, okay? As you do that, go into your toe and make it a little bit bigger. So you want to go wider, okay? If you want to go the other way, go the other way as well. Okay, that was my leg, so this is okay. Maybe I should do it with this leg. So there we go. We can make it a bit wider, and then we can move on to get higher as well. Okay, and then you can swap legs as well. So all these things are really important for when we begin. But next session, I'm going to do some warm ups anyway and warm downs, just so it can help you to loosen up and get a bit more creative. Okay, so I want to thank everybody for tuning into our Dramarama course. It's going to be very exciting over the next coming weeks. As you know, a lot of it's going to be done online at the minute, but this doesn't restrict us. If anything, it makes it a bit more creative. We're going to have lots of things that we can use online as well. A lot of visuals, a lot of ideas. Um, if there's anything that you think that you want to add, Do put that into the chat as well. So it could be visuals, it could be sounds as well, towards your stories. The more feedback I get from you, the better, because I don't know everything, and the ideas always come from the person themselves. So please feel free to add into the chat when you tune in again. But I just want to say thank you everybody for tuning in. Okay, very exciting, and if you need any help with your stories, feel free to message the yard, and I'm always going to be available to help if needed. Okay, have a wonderful day and enjoy yourself. Bye. Bye.